Usually run out of time. Call the meeting of the Public Works Committee at 6:03. Trustee Amenta and Trustee Marr are present. Trustee Carpenter is not present yet. Our first item of business is consider electronics recycling vendor agreement. We've got a memo on that. I will turn it over to the Public Works Director to brief us on this item.
Bring it we periodically review opportunities. Currently, we use Waste Management to dispose of electronic items that are brought in for recycling. And that agreement is, we pay by the pound. This agreement, which was proposed by our current appliance recycling vendor, who just got into this business within the last 6 months, her charges would be on a different scale. She would not charge us for smaller items. She would only charge for televisions and computer monitors. Other items would be accepted and recycled at no charge. So overall, it would be a cost savings to residents who are bringing in items. That we had previously set a fee schedule for television sets based on size.
Right.
So as you know, I said we were paying based on the pound, so that's very difficult to do. So we're using a charge based on size, and that actually came from our recycling vendor previous to Waste Management. That firm charged us a sliding scale based on size. So we looked at kind of what the larger TVs weigh versus what the smaller TVs weigh, and thought that would be a consistent way to continue to apply fees. But she's looking at going back to size. Television sets greater than she would charge a flat $35 fee for television sets. So that would be an increase of $5 on the smaller sets, but a decrease of $10 on the larger.
So she's charging per set, not by weight.
The difference is that she will charge a greater amount if the set is broken. And broken is not defined as non-working, it's defined as physically not intact. Right. So the screen is broken or the housing is broken. So that is going to be a bit of a challenge on our end to make sure that when those sets come in, we're checking the set and charging appropriately. And then when it's handled in back, when the resident offloads it or the Whitefish Bay staffer offloads it, that it stays in the same condition it was when it was paid for 2 minutes earlier, right? So we're just going to have to introduce some different protocols and handling procedures to make sure that those sets are not broken when they are offloaded and stacked.
Do you feel broken? Is it like this? The tube's broken, or that'd be
the glass, or if the housing is shattered.
Just in pieces.
See, it really comes down to handling. It's like a safety thing for them to handle it.
Right.
So anything that's broken needs to be prepared differently. We need to wrap it in cellophane and like those big rolls of.
Sure.
And we gotta kind of secure it.
Okay.
And, so she believes, or this vendor believes that there's a higher risk for.
What is the charge for the broken one? I'm sorry.
It's $50.
And the regular TV is 30.
Oh, that's not, that's a lot of TVs now.
And
that's a shock,
Yeah, we get, even now, I have 4 television sets to dispose of. What's that fee? And almost 10 times out of 10, we tell them and they say, thank you, I'm going to find somewhere else. We say, okay.
And where is it? The nearest dumpster, right?
Sometimes find people
Right.
who will take
Yeah.
them. Goodwill does sometimes, and sometimes not. And sometimes we will direct people to Best Buy or
Mm-hmm.
an electronics store. They will sometimes have programs. You do have to generally pay for them, but they'll give you like an equal amount in a voucher or so.
When you said Whitefish Bay, these are Whitefish Bay residents bringing them in on a Saturday or? what?
No, under the transfer station agreement,
Okay,
on Saturdays, one Shorewood employee works and one Whitefish Bay employee works.
okay,
And typically the Whitefish Bay employee is up at the compactor area,
okay,
helping residents unload.
okay,
So I have already had a conversation with the Whitefish Bay DPW director about, we're gonna be inventorying these, so
right,
we're gonna mark, that 5 unbroken and 2
right,
broken ones came in on Saturday, and when we come back on Monday, if they're all broken, I'm gonna be talking to you, cause
Right.
that's gonna be additional charges, so.
okay. All right, looks good to me. What are they doing? Do we know what are they deconstructing this stuff, or are they shipping it to?
That is my understanding.
Yeah, there's a place in Janesville that does that.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right.
so if someone brings a TV in, and then they go up to the back, and that person has to look it over and say, okay, this is a $35 or a
No,
$50.
that happens in front, before they enter the gate, because that's where the fee is paid.
Okay, so that person is gonna look and say it's
Yep.
35 or
Mhm.
50, and they pay there.
Right.
And then the problem is, if it's 35 and they get up, and they take the TV out and put it down and break it.
Right. Though typically,
Yeah, I just don't, I know currently we handle a lot of broken TVs, but I don't know if they're being broke or if they're breaking somehow in the handling, because we put the TVs in these, what they call Gaylord boxes, which are like big shipping boxes, and they're about yay high. So these big heavy TVs have to be loaded into these boxes, and nobody wants to hurt their back, so they just kind of, and then they.
Right.
So I'm sure there's some of that going on, but we also have college kids moving out on the 3rd floor, and the best way to get it out of the thing is through the window,
Yeah.
Right.
and boom on the ground,
Right,
right?
yeah.
So.
Yeah,
So we'll find out, if we go this route, we'll find out clearly,
Oh,
what we're really taking
okay.
in for broken stuff or not. But
I'd be okay with,
I mean, the only concern I was $50 was a lot to get rid of a TV. I mean, that's like, I haven't bought a TV.
it's halfway to buying a new one.
I know,
Yeah, new ones are like $3.99 for
Yeah.
huge ones.
Huge ones, yeah.
don't
Yeah.
break it.
Yeah,
they
though,
only last a year though, so.
right.
Yeah, right.
She,
TV,
this particular vendor has been, just a real pleasure to work with.
Okay.
She's very responsible, she's very responsive. She supplies us with timely invoices, timely reporting requirements, because we do in turn report the appliances that are recycled to DNR to get credit under our recycling grant. Just a very good organization to work with,
Right.
which is cannabis.
I would make a motion to recommend that we move forward to the village board with this proposed recycling agreement, and will the fees be in a separate action later?
Yes, we would then have to do a fee schedule amendment,
Okay,
and that would come at a meeting following your action
Okay.
on, or potential action on the 2nd.
Just to note, these TV fees are still in addition to the gate.
Right, exactly.
so it's $62 to get rid of a TV.
If you're in a car and the TV's broken.
What are other, what are other places for it? Anybody know?
Most municipalities don't take them. We are one of the very few that do.
Oh, okay.
okay. Why do we charge the gate fee if they just have the TV? It's,
Typically they don't just have the TV.
right, yeah,
But the reasoning is we're staffing the gate and we're not keeping any of the revenue from the television.
Oh, okay, it's just a
It's a
pass-through,
pass.
so our costs
So,
are the gate.
I say revenue.
Maintaining the
fee.
site and opening it
Yeah,
on Saturday.
The recycling fee is entirely up to us.
Okay, that's the other cost, okay. David?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, forward with that. Second item,
Can I just ask a budget time, if you, we're gonna read your budget, a couple more months, can we have an update on how many are broken?
Sure.
Just so we know.
next item, consider Emerald Ash Borer plan and recommendations. This item's been on our agenda for a while, but looks like we're finally there, so.
So you will recall that we got an DNR urban forestry grant last year to update our tree inventory. And during that discussion, I believe it was President Rosick who suggested the adding to that grant request funding to have the consultant review our Emerald Ash program. And so this document that you have is the result of that assessment. Its primary purpose is to review the current policies and procedures in place, and then to compare those against best management practices, and it includes a series of recommendations for you to consider. I say series because it doesn't specifically say,
Mhm.
this is what you should be doing. It says that the community should decide which service level it wants, and then based on that, follow the potential changes to our current operations. So I did include just a summary matrix in the packet. And really, this is probably more than we can do in one sitting.
Okay,
So my thought was perhaps just to get some initial feedback from you and talk about how you would like us to proceed with the review of the recommendations, or series of recommendations that would be outlined there. I think it really is something that ought to be done well in advance of budget time, just because it could have potential budget implications. And I think that's not something we wanna, try to do. There's always more to do than time when we get to budget.
Yeah.
And, it's February, but that'll be here soon enough.
I don't, my computer's out of charge, so can I look on
Of
your
course.
thing? Thanks. Okay.
So just,
I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
looking at it, when I looked over it, the main thing to me was, finding there's something about a cost. Like, we get a cost
Yep,
estimate, so we know how much all these things
Yep.
will cost.
So they do make some recommendations about preparing cost estimates for any changes in service,
right,
under 3 different models. One would be all done in-house, another would be fully contracted, and then the third would be some sort of hybrid approach, which, and that,
So you would do a, but how would you do an RFP if we haven't decided what we're gonna do?
well, we wouldn't, yeah, it's always the chicken and egg, isn't it?
Mhm.
So I don't foresee at this point anytime soon doing any sort of RFP or any formal request for services. There's a couple orders of operations that we could use to
Right.
tackle this. One would be to have the discussion about what is the community's preferred service level, because there's 4 of them outlined, or 3 of them outlined, the current level of service that we're providing, and then 2 increased levels.
Which is basically replacing more trees than we're currently replacing, but also more varieties, right? Am I wrong?
Yes, I'm sorry, no, you're not wrong.
Okay.
And that's something we strive to do now. It's a struggle, because everybody's doing the exact same thing. And, the nurseries I don't know that all the local nurseries really were so far ahead of the curve that they have, you know, trees of the size that we're looking for in increased varieties right at the moment. So this all kind of came, you know, everybody said this is coming, so
Right.
nurseries kind of ramped up and prepared, and so they cut back on their ash
Right.
and then increased some of the other
Right.
varieties. But to some extent, some of those increased varieties were experiments.
Oh,
And some of them they knew, you know, would work in this area, but it is a struggle to get as many trees as you want in the number of varieties that you want right now. You know, I think that case may be different in 10 or 15 or 20
Right.
years. But right now, the supply is not unlimited.
because it takes a while to get the tree to the big enough size.
And so we make a conscious effort to do that. I think normally, or right after the ash population, emerald ash borer became a concern, most communities started relying pretty heavily on maples and lindens, and you know, you don't want to set yourself up in the exact same scenario. If you don't want to have too heavy on the linden or too heavy on the maples because if something happens with maple, then you're right back where you were, just with a different species. So we try very hard.
There's the 3 levels of service, the ash treatment. The ash,
And what are they, Mike?
low is 18, low is current, 18 ash removals, 363 trees treated in